And welcome back to another episode of the Looking Glass podcast. I'm one third of your host, PepsiMane, aka Calvin, and I'm here with my other one third of the host, Lenny Alanese. Say hi.
Hello.
And the other one third of the group, everyone's favorite calcium consumer and the one guy who drinks our milk, Skeletor, aka Jai Compton.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Right, before we start, conversing about our topics for today, we just like to, I would just like to ask, what would you guys recommend, our recent recommendations, what would you like to recommend to the viewers, certain games, films, media, anything that you'd like the viewers to, experience or review,
Well, I recently watched Guns Akimbo for the first time the other day, and I mean, I'd heartily recommend it. If you're like an action movie fan, I think you could probably get a big kick out of it. That it's not, it's not like peak cinema. It's not Scorsese going, "This is cinema." It's more Marvel level of like, it's you go there and you get popcorn and you watch it and it's fun. And you just kind of enjoy it. You don't want to sit there and be a cinema snob watching it. But it's fun. It's got a bunch of really cool, unique action. It's got a cool premise that I think they capitalize on fairly well. Some of the writing does get a little, let's go with choppy every now and then. It doesn't quite feel right. But honestly, the performances are pretty good all the way around. So that kind of salvages it a bunch. Honestly, Yeah, exactly. That's like if you ever want to know why he had hands, bolted to guns in a dressing gown in the middle of the street, that's the movie to watch because it explains it.
I mean, if you're from Australia and Melbourne, you might have just thought you were in Footscray or something.
Oh, that is actually not. It is New Zealand co-production, which is really cool to see. You don't see that too often. It's really cool. It's really cool to see that happen.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend supporting them. Don't fucking pirate it or I'll come to your house and kill you and your family. Go buy it. Go enjoy it. It's a good time.
Jai, any recent recs that you'd like to give to viewers?
So I was talking to some mates about it the other day, but I've been really getting into a game called Crusader Kings 3. It's like a real-time strategy, fucking set in medieval times. You play as a dynasty or one of the other people. Or if you have certain modifications, because it used to be in Crusader Kings 2 that you could make your own ruler under certain DLCs or stuff like that if you had it. But with mods, you can now accomplish the same thing in Crusader Kings 3, even though they haven't added it yet. So, you run your own dynasty, try not to get murdered, have sex with many people to try to keep your heirs going. Otherwise, you'll die. Yeah, especially. I mean, the game is riddled with people like the Habsburgs.
Yeah.
By the last time me and Jai played, he fucked my wife on countless times.
Look, I can't help it, alright? It's just what I do.
NTR moment, right there,
I mean, it was, but Lenny called me out. But Lenny's such a bro that instead of, dethroning me and announcing my crimes to the world and his wife's crimes, he just let it slide. He's a real bro.
Yeah, and then Jai's character hated me because he cucked me.
Yep.
It's a very interesting...
That's Crusader Kings. If you're interested in that, go for it.
Yeah, if you like cucking your best friends, just fucking play Crusader Kings.
Yeah, it's very, a very, odd explanation of the game, but yeah, thank you, Jai.
It's an accurate one.
Yeah, it is inaccurate, but still very odd. My recent recs for you guys, I've been playing it as of recent, mostly on PC. It's the Wolfenstein series, most specifically the second entry, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. I think it was. It's a very I wouldn't say it's very deep and complex game like The Last of Us. No, it's more of a popcorn-esque type of game, similar to Lenny's.
Is it the one where you're still playing as BJ Blazkowicz?
Yes.
Yeah. It's before, was it Youngblood, the co-op?
Yeah, before where you're playing as his daughters or whatever. Yeah. Those games though are still pretty. They have some pretty in-deep context and all that sort of things.
They do, but I think.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as shooters go, especially with the advent of Doom, the new Doom games and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they hold up pretty well. I think they're pretty cool.
Wolfenstein has a lot of commentary.
It does.
A lot of
I do love the Wolfenstein stories and stuff.
Particularly BJ Blazkowicz's dad.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like that. If you remember those scenes, there's a lot that goes on with him and kind of that lifestyle and how it affected people in the time period and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, gives a good insight.
I'd recommend that you play this game. You know, it's in terms of gameplay and writing, I think it's top notch. I would recommend that you don't necessarily have to play the first game to understand it. You can if you want to, but you know.
It does tie in a lot, but yeah, I get what you mean. You could probably just go in.
Yeah, it's more of a pick up and you'd
Fresh.
understand. You could pick it up, you know, and understand the whole context clearly. But you know, I'd recommend it to you guys. You know, PC, console, it's fun. So long as you're shooting the Nazis, it's G. You know, it's good in my book. Anyways, moving on to recent topics. As of recently, and this was a surprise to me, huge surprise to me, not only to me but to many gamers and even game industries and game journalists out there, you know, the recent purchasing of Bethesda. Microsoft, as of recent, has purchased Bethesda for $75 billion, and I think it's
which is, I believe, more than Disney bought Star Wars with or Marvel with.
Yeah, possibly.
Yes, but
ZeniMax owns a lot of sub companies though, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, it's a crazy big purchase. It's like, I mean, we can't not talk about it. It's huge right now. It's probably the biggest story in gaming. I can't even remember the last time when something this big happened.
Yeah.
I think
probably. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, but the main the one thing I want to discuss is not the whole purchase of this whole idea. It's more of not only Microsoft but most specifically companies like EA or PlayStation, like mostly hardware companies like Nintendo, PlayStation, or Microsoft purchasing companies, and how it could affect, you know, the whole gaming ecosystem. Because I think the recent purchase that Microsoft had prior to this was Obsidian Entertainment, and I think that's what also, and as I think back then Obsidian was still making a game for PlayStation, and I think with this purchase in mind, I think it's opened, and it genuinely opened the eyes of both everybody in the gaming sphere about you know, how if a company were to if a hardware company like Sony were to purchase a software company or a game studio, how do you think it would affect them? You know. So
one current thing to keep in mind though is that I believe they did just recently announce that although Microsoft's bought out ZeniMax, any current titles that were announced for the PS5
they're going to be on it.
are still going to be on it.
Yeah.
But future titles, including the Elder Scrolls, I think will only be on Xbox and PC.
Well, they haven't said that. They haven't said that. That's all completely speculation.
Yeah, it could possibly happen.
I thought there was a recent announcement made.
No, I don't think so. But I mean, hell, I could be wrong. You look back at this and call me a fucking idiot. But I mean, look, the way that Microsoft's been kind of going with their exclusives recently, I mean, they're a lot more open than Sony, especially with PC.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, like sure, a bunch of them might not go to PlayStation, which sucks for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, with stuff like Elder Scrolls, if you know, I feel like they'd be cutting off too much of their profits from cutting off the PlayStation guys, especially if it's like later in the game. Like, as of right now, most people who are going to buy an Xbox are probably going to buy it around, you know, this time when it's coming out. Maybe a couple years down the line, but you know, mostly around this time. So I don't know if the next Elder Scrolls game comes out in like 5 years, and you know, it's an Xbox exclusive, PC exclusive, people on PlayStation are probably going to just, I don't know, get it on PC or something rather than buy an Xbox.
Yeah.
So I can't see how that would be a smart decision for them.
Well,
But
I mean,
that
I think
being said, they do have to try and maxify. I mean, they spent a fuck ton of money on this
They did,
purchase,
it's $75
like a
billion,
hell of a lot of
so-
money. So they want to try and make it back up. So look, they could go either way. They could prove me wrong, and they could make these things exclusives.
well,
but I
wasn't
don't know
there
if
a
they would.
forecasted report or something saying that a lot more RPG players and all that play on Xbox rather than PlayStation in the first place?
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
It was mostly Microsoft.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
So like PC and Xbox were
Which
most of the
I
players
think-
for RPGs.
Except JRPGs. JRPGs are much more likely to be on PlayStation.
Of course, yeah, because you know it's a.
Which I think at this
Square
point,
Enix.
most if not almost all, like Western RPG game making companies are like owned by Microsoft at this point. Which is that would
Almost,
definitely
yeah.
solidify the point that more RPG players would be on Xbox. So I definitely would believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I think, I feel like maybe with the purchase of ZeniMax, some Bethesda properties, let's say like a future, and ironically, unintentionally as well, it ties into this games like Wolfenstein or Doom. They would and I see this within Square Enix as well. They would have a timed release for like they'd release the game on an Xbox or Xbox and PC for like the one whole year or maybe 1.5 years, and then they'd release it on say other platforms like Switch, which I highly doubt it's gonna happen, or PlayStation, within the next year, and that's when like sales start pitching in as well. But I mean,
I could see that happening.
yeah, I mean, it's done. It's the same thing as it can be seen within Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Um, they've made a deal with Sony saying, "Oh, here we can do a timed exclusive for Final Fantasy VII." And and correct me if I'm wrong, I think for the first year, for the first one.
It's usually timed exclusives are usually about a year.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Microsoft has done that before with was it Rise of the Tomb Raider? Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was a timed exclusive for Xbox for a year. It was only on Xbox, and then a year later they released like an anniversary edition that came out on PlayStation, had all the DLC and everything packaged in.
Yeah.
So then the timed exclusive was over, and they released it for PlayStation. That could definitely happen here again with these Bethesda titles and subsidiary titles. I'd say that's pretty believable. I'd think that's more believable, especially for some of the big hitting titles like Fallout and Elder Scrolls,
For sure.
than just having them be exclusives. I think that'd get a lot of. I think Microsoft has been trying to kind of get like goodwill from people recently.
Yeah, they have been.
So I think doing something like that.
The absolute shit show of the Xbox One launch and what they were
Exactly,
originally planning. Yeah.
So I think they're realizing how much their public perception matters, and doing something like that, I think would hurt them a hell of a lot more than even the Xbox One launch probably could, in my opinion.
I mean,
So I'm not sure they're going to go down that route. If they're smart enough, they probably won't.
Yeah.
But timed exclusives, I could probably see that happening.
Well, like we've seen it happen already now. I think as of recent, Square Enix made a deal in regards to the Avengers game that like Spider-Man and like literally fucking Spider-Man is gonna be in
Yeah, exclusive shit like that is the worst.
Yeah.
You have to buy it on a certain console to get this little package of content. I mean, Arkham Knight did it, which sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there was a couple of like challenge packs which were like really cool, where it was like it was basically like a little mini boss fight DLC campaign with Scarecrow. Which, I mean, if you played the game, there's not I mean, Scarecrow's there and he's cool and all that, but there's not a whole lot of cool boss fights or anything with him.
Yeah.
So that DLC like had that, and it was really cool. But the Xbox didn't get that at all, ever. It wasn't timed. It wasn't whatever. Never. As well as the Adam West Batman skin, they implemented like the car, the Catwoman and Robin skins and stuff. But the actual Batman skin, the Adam West Batman skin, is a PlayStation exclusive and has never been released on Xbox, which is just like, I've got problems enough with PlayStation, especially with all their exclusive games like Spider-Man and Last of Us and Horizon Zero Dawn and all the Naughty Dog stuff, pretty much. But like when it's something like that, where it's like the game's available everywhere, but there's a couple of little things that if you want it, you have to go to this other console. It's like, that's just, come on. That's just really shitty, and that just pisses me off to no end.
I think we've seen that obviously from PlayStation's end. I think the first example was Destiny, which was, oh my days. They've placed, I think, Destiny for the first 3 years of its lifespan, and although despite the updates, it was still getting low sales because it was a PlayStation exclusive. And I think we've also seen it at, correct me if I'm wrong, Street Fighter V, I think, because it was a PlayStation exclusive at one point, and I think it got released to other consoles like a year after, which it really, like, exclusives, in my opinion, no matter what console, like no matter which console you're on, unless it's Nintendo or if it's a PC platform, it's gonna impact, at times it can impact the sales negatively. Like if the game's seen, as, very fucking shit and in PlayStation, but the port of, Xbox or a PC port or the Switch port is, impeccable or fucking polished to the point where it's like almost lacking bugs, it could impact sales drastically. But I feel like we are unfortunate enough to be living in a timeline where game companies prefer, money, or at least shilling over money, other than, spitting out games, games that are actually fun enough. But hey,
Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned Nintendo because I mean Nintendo is some of the worst offenders with exclusives. Yet it's
I
kind
was
of
just
no
about
one
to say
bats an eye.
that.
It's funny that no one bats an eye. Like I mean, they do it somewhat differently. I would like to say, but honestly, I don't know because it's like you
I'd
can
say
only
they
really
do it
get
in a
Mario
worse way though,
games.
because
You can well yeah exactly.
yeah,
Like you have to get a Switch to get a bunch of that stuff and
not even that though. But then the other thing you have to factor in is that if you think about third-party games and all that for Nintendo, this is the main reason why I didn't get a Switch until it was fucking only once they launched the Switch Lite, which was a much cheaper version.
yeah,
I looked at it and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, on launch they had fuck all that I was really interested in. The only stuff that I actually was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, was Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey or whatever, and I think there was Smash Bros. That was the only thing at the time that I was like, oh yeah, I'd actually want to play that and I'd put money into it. But
that's
then
the thing
I
about
thought to
Nintendo.
myself,
It's like most people would only buy Nintendo. Well, pretty much from my experience, most people only buy Nintendo console to play the first-party Nintendo games like Mario,
yeah, exactly.
Zelda's,
But that's
whatever.
because they've never had any actually decent third-party games like.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Switch
AAA
has
games.
kind of has expanded that a lot.
Oh
But
no, it has now.
me
Yeah.
personally, I wouldn't want to play Doom on the Switch.
no,
It's just an
No, but
inferior
okay, so-
console for that.
So how
But,
do I
like-
explain this to you?
Hold on. But in terms of like their exclusives and stuff, like you have to get a Switch to play those games, whereas you can play any of the other third-party games anywhere else.
Yeah, pretty
But-
much.
But
Yeah.
like stuff like Sony, which does a similar thing with their exclusives, it's kind of different, but not really. But like they're both kind of, in my opinion, Nintendo and Sony are kind of in the same boat with their exclusives and how they work, and they're kind of shitty. Not gonna
No,
lie.
I'd argue Nintendo is significantly worse, primarily because of the fact that when you buy a Nintendo console, or at least for the previous Nintendo consoles, if you like take example of the Wii U or whatever, how many games were released exclusively for that? By the simple sheer fact that because of how exclusive they are, they don't allow most of the other AAA or even AA titles, whatever you want to call it, onto their platform. You're buying it, and it's like, well, I'm having to already shell out hundreds of dollars, sometimes even close to the same prices for the other bigger consoles.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it has so much more limited capabilities. And I'm not talking about hardware style. I'm just talking about the actual games you can play, for Christ's sake. Like, it's just so frustrating to me to have to shell out that much money. Because if you want to have all these different games, and it's people will say, well, that's because it's made by that console or whatever, it's designed for that console. But at the same time, we're getting to an age, or we have been in an age, where the main competitive consoles and PC stuff, all games have been interchangeable for that besides Nintendo. And that's what I really get annoyed with.
Well,
Yeah, Nintendo kind of relies on their gimmicks a little bit to ensure that you can only play, like you can
Yeah.
only play Super Mario Galaxy on Wii. I mean, now it's on Switch.
On a
The
Wii,
Switch has motion controls as well,
yeah.
so it's like you can only play it on a motion control machine. You can't
But yet
really.
they've made emulators to do it on PC, so it proves that it's perfectly capable
I
of
mean,
working on
PC.
it.
I mean, you need the cursor, so PC
Yeah.
would work. PlayStation and Xbox wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
But like they kind of do little things like that that kind of ensure that. I mean, they're exclusive anyway, but they ensure that like you can only play these games and get the full experience anyway if it's on a Nintendo system.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's just
Which
To
I mean,
me,
I
it seems
personally
like-
I only get like the Switch and the PS4 for
Yeah.
exclusives.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
I don't have a problem with the consoles themselves, or people if want them to be their main consoles,
yeah,
especially PlayStation. I get people like PlayStation and
yeah.
all that, but it's just like those two consoles. Like, I wouldn't. If I was a PlayStation guy myself, I don't know that I'd be, apart from like stuff like Halo, which I could probably get on PC these days anyway. I don't know that I'd be that adamant about having to get an Xbox.
Yeah.
Which, on one hand, you can say speaks to the effectiveness of the exclusives, because it's like
Yeah.
forcing people like me to go and buy those consoles just for those games. And it definitely speaks to the quality of the exclusives as well. Like they're good games that you definitely want to pick up.
Oh yeah, in many cases, no. That's what frustrates me because, like, especially PlayStation has a bigger lineup of exclusives that I prefer to the Xbox exclusives in most cases. Like, take for example the Yakuza series or fucking most of like the Crash Bandicoots and all that. And those big titles that are only available on PlayStation, I've always preferred them. But it's a tough one to figure out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing is it's super predatory, and it always gets under my skin whenever I've buy those games and buy those consoles. It always gets to me that it's like, I'm only doing this because of some shitty higher ups at some company that are doing these devious plans and twirling their mustaches.
Well, at the same time, I do have to say, probably one of the main reasons I play Xbox more than I play PlayStation, though, is actually simply because of the people I know who have Xbox over PlayStation.
Well, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Is PlayStation people are gonna. There's a lot of PlayStation people, so of course, if all your friends are on PlayStation. I know when I was a kid, all my friends were on PlayStation. I mean, I had a 360, so I definitely got to play with.
I didn't. I only had a 360 later on in life, like when I was in my lower teens.
But like, I mean, hell, if you've seen that tweet, Calvin, if you can be fucked editing, put it on screen, where this guy was saying like, I've gotten an Xbox since I was a kid, but look, all my friends have PlayStation. I'm gonna have to make the switch.
Yeah,
it's a thing, and of course, Xbox was whoever they've got for their public relations guy on social media. Fantastic job, like props to them, like seriously, round of applause. Their response to that was beautiful, but that's besides the point. The point is that that's genuinely a thing that happens, that it affects a bunch of sales, and I think is why PlayStation's kind of kept a lead, I guess you could say, like kept ahead substantially in sales, is because once they got enough people, then enough people would have to go, well, all my friends have got it, I'm gonna get that one.
I think that's kind of the main thing Microsoft was banking on for a while. Like, that's what annoyed me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, half the reason I did prefer PlayStation for so long was because originally PlayStation had much better market practices, not talking about exclusives though. Like, for example, PlayStation 3, free online multiplayer, and it's always been free. Never happened until Microsoft were like, hey, sir, gonna have to charge you a subscription fee to play because servers or some shit, even though it's been proven it's not at all needed, even in the slightest bit. Yeah. And then after Sony realized, but people are still buying Microsoft even though we've got all this, we should just copy them so that it doesn't matter what they choose. And that's when I started to get shittier with Sony. It's
all a bunch of these companies one-upping each other, and it's all it's competition, and they're always going to compete with each other. Like, I mean, Nintendo did the same thing that you were talking about with the online subscription stuff. It's not good.
I think it's scummy. I really do think it's
very scummy, definitely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's not going anywhere. It's just part of general business practice, and completely in general. It's not just the game industry doing this. It's it's everyone. It's just how business works. Competition.
By far, though, the worst thing though with these subscriptions, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me here because I'm sure you've had the moments too, is the free games or whatever that come with everything, and the fact that they aren't automatically added to your account.
100%.
Did you hear me?
I will say that is how Xbox kind of redeemed themselves.
It should automatically be added to your account, though.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to go on and add it. I am so sick of it because, let's be honest, we've all got other shit to do besides playing games all the time, and there will be multiple months where you can't get on and do shit. It's happened to me all the time. It's why I've missed so many free things, even though I'm still paying for the fucking subscription. But people will say, then pay for it by a month-by-month basis. It's like, yeah, but you know why they're doing that, right? It's like so that it's more fucking, how do you say it, inconvenient, so you want to just use the 12-month subscription thing, which is what I do because I have a very sporadic play schedule where I'll be either on all the time or not on a lot. It depends,
Yeah. We can college students and high school students can relate to that.
Yeah.
For sure. But upon discussing this topic, I feel like we need to transition to next topic. I think as time.
No, that's fair enough because I think we could go on about this for like ages. So
there's
what
a
do we
lot
have
here
lined
to
up next?
Yeah. We could the next topic as of recently, Microsoft as well as Big Brother PlayStation has been with us. They've announced the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but alongside with those two, there is a digital-only version of the console. So there's a Series
Without that
S
means without a disc drive.
So
and
no
a
disc drive
PlayStation 5
attached.
Yeah. So if you have any hard copy things, forget about them.
Yeah.
Which I have some strong opinions on that, but we'll get into that. In a
Yeah,
minute.
agreed. Yeah, but we'll let Calvin go.
Yeah, so they've recently announced a cheaper alternative, which is a digital-only, no optical drive versions of the console. Basically, a Series S for the Xbox and a PlayStation 5. I think it's just called a PlayStation 5 digital version. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's PS5 digital from memory. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just that one. And I feel like we, all three of us, have a lot of things to say about it. Because, in my opinion, it's a very, it's a good, first of all, it's a 50-50 move, in my opinion. Because of, it can work, but also, it can also backfire. Because, like, there are some, areas around the world, if you think about it, that kind of rely on like no internet but on the physical copies
And physical game sales. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, like
Definitely.
areas like Brazil
Yeah.
or the Philippines or Malaysia, all that.
I mean, Australia relies on it. Our internet is dog shit. Half the time it doesn't function. You know.
For sure, but like when
Half the time. That's generous.
Yeah. Good point.
But yeah, like when we're talking about like countries that have, you know, very limited to poor internet and they rely heavily on physical copies, I feel like it's gonna backfire because one, there's no way these, like, you know, these people within these companies, like companies, what's wrong with me? Countries are gonna purchase, you know, a digital only version. Secondly, they're not gonna buy, you know, spend a few more schmuck bucks, you know, to get a physical, you know, with the optic drive version of the freaking console. And third of all,
It's a hell more than just a few schmuck bucks as well. It's a big leap.
Yeah, it's a considerable amount.
And third of all, right? Third of all, I'm pretty sure most of them are gonna still stick with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And considering with our climate now, with the whole, you know, virus, we can't really say the name, but the whole virus situation going out here, you know, they can't really spend anything because we don't, like, some of these people, they may have lost their jobs, you know, they are currently, you know, on government pension in order to survive. And I feel like
If there is a government pension in those
Well,
countries.
see, the thing is, though, at the same time, people who are in those circumstances also probably shouldn't buy a fucking, you know, they shouldn't buy the console.
Well,
That's
too.
obviously, yeah. They should probably factor in that they don't need
You
it.
know,
I mean, yeah.
YOLO. If you want to go back to 2012 for a second, YOLO.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a tough one because I know there's a lot of people who harp on about like prices. Like there's been absolutely people up in rages about the new prices, even for the digital editions that have been released. And honest to God, I don't know if it's just me or not, but I was expecting significantly worse. I actually reckon they're not as bad as I anticipated at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I was definitely setting the bar a bit higher to
I thought at least $1,000
avoid
or more
disappointment.
dollars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
And
I think I was
AUD.
probably subconsciously kind of doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
I set the bar high enough so that it's gonna come under the bar, so it doesn't disappoint
Yeah.
me.
No, I think the main thing that I would like to take from this though is that like when it's the digital editions, if it was no optic drive still with the disc drive though and all that, I would get that in a heartbeat because I could give two shits about 4K Ultra HD, you know, it's stupid
Yeah,
shit.
I agree.
I really don't care.
yeah.
And I'm not
I
going to
do
waste
agree.
money buying a fucking 4K TV. Like, I'm happy with what I've got. I don't need anything better. Like, that's
at this
what I
point-
usually do get the PS. Like, I've got a PS4 Slim. If there was a smaller version of the Xbox, actually there might be. I can't remember.
There
I'm
is,
still stuck
yes.
with. I'm still stuck with the OG. Yeah, but that's got no fucking disc drive. I don't want that heap of shit. You know why would I want
Does it?
that?
No, I think it does.
Right.
It's,
No,
Xbox One
the Xbox One S from memory is digital only, if I remember correctly.
Well, there you go.
It is.
Yeah.
That's digital only.
Which I hate.
Yeah.
But the smaller condensed versions I significantly prefer of consoles because like I'm in a room it's not like don't get me wrong, my room's not fucking small by any means, but considering all the stuff I got in here, I have limited space and my desk has limited space. I mean, also it's cluttered with shit, so that doesn't help. But it's not
Literally.
the world's biggest desk. You've seen it, you know, Lenny. You know what I'm talking about.
Need some feng shui,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, no, it's just because I've also got to now, considering, well, I mean, hopefully it won't happen with the next gen of consoles, but like I have portable hard drives that I got to stick out of my consoles because they just don't have enough fucking size with data and all that. It's just fucking crazy. You need space, and so when I got my 1 terabyte PS4 Slim, I was so happy because the actual original PS4 is considerably bulkier, like much more taller and a bit wider as well. It's just really frustrating. Like, I don't know how to tell it.
Yeah.
But this thing's so much more portable, so that's why I like it. So if they had have done something similar with like the PS4 Slim with the PS5, I would get that in a heartbeat. Like, absolutely no issues.
Yeah.
But like this obsession with like fucking trying to push everyone onto the digital marketplaces through the companies so that they get the exact immediate revenue
Jai,
is so fucking annoying.
Jai, you know what I think? I feel like a company. I'm pretty sure, and 100% to you, ever since they've announced this, I'm pretty sure one small third company is gonna make like those like USB optical drives. I feel like they're gonna make that
Probably,
and say, hey, rather than fucking yourself over for like a few schmuck bucks for a freaking with the freaking optical drive, just buy this, and then you can
see if you could do that. I would do that. That is actually a really smart idea, but I guarantee you they'll ban it or make it so the devices don't work.
At that point, but like at that point though, you're probably gonna end up spending the same amount anyway. As
no, because a portable disk drive is not that
X.
expensive.
It's not. It's like USB, and basically I think they're like 50. The cheapest one is $15 in Amazon, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like to work with the Xbox, the new Xboxes, they'd probably bump the price up. Especially considering what we've been talking about, like how it would be an exclusive thing that like people would be like, oh my god, this is great, I'll get that and whatever.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably bump that price up.
Or probably like make a gamers edition, optical disk drive, like every hardware company that sells, USB hardware.
Yeah, like Razer and all the other sort of shit, trying to make their own version. Yeah.
Gamer USB.
I mean, hell, if shit goes sideways enough with the Series S, Xbox themselves might release a plug-in drive. I could see that happening.
Well, I mean, I think it's a shitty practice.
Absolutely, but like these consoles not having disk drives gets to me on a personal level.
Well, yeah, because it means you don't own your fucking games anymore. Like, and people will say,
that's bad. I hate that, but like, even on a completely superficial level, and I know most people don't agree with me on this. People get a game, they play it, they trade it in, they get another game. But I hate that. I absolutely detest it. I am a physical guy through and through. I've got stacks and stacks of games going back to the PS2 in my damn room, taking up the fucking whole place. And I mean, fun fact, not games, but I did recently reorganize my room and I had to take all my DVDs out and Blu-rays and all that, and reorganize them and shit. And I was like, screw it, I'll do a rough estimation count, see how many I've got. And it came to a total of above 600 DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah.
So I think that's
the same copy of Norbert.
Yes, all the same copy of Norbert. But I think that's evidence enough to Your Honor, I rest my case. That's how much I love physical copies of shit. Is that I've been doing it since I was a kid, and and this, I don't think that this advent, I guess, of diskless consoles is gonna go beyond slim editions, and it's gonna completely eradicate discs. I don't see that's a possibility. People
I think they're pushing for it. They're pushing for it, though.
But I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well, because the problem is that
you get what I'm saying? Like a Steam.
Yeah. Steam, but the thing with Steam is that like I also don't like that either. Truth be told, like it's frustrating though because like then people say, oh, if you don't like it so much, why do you have like a 400 something Steam library? It's like, well, just fucking how else am I supposed to get a lot of stuff on my computer without cluttering everything and all that, and having 400 discs sitting around in addition to my Xbox games, my PlayStation games, my 360 games, and my PS3 games, and all my other shit. Like that's
just what I do.
Well, no. But the thing is, like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, to factor in like all of that stuff in addition to DLC and all the other shit I've got, if I had to leave it somewhere, it's not feasible for something like a computer where I can store so much more shit on it. You know what I mean? It's not fucking necessary. Like, what's a good way to put it? My biggest gripe isn't anything to do with storing shit when it comes to the digital sales and the push for it. It is literally that it's this thing of you're almost just renting games now. It's I hate it. I fucking despise it because it's like, oh, if there's an issue with your account or if someone hacks into your account, if you've got all the physical copies of games, your account might get shafted. You're like, oh fuck, I lost my account. I don't know, I've lost a lot of my online games and DLC. Oh, but I have all my physical stuff. If you move to these digital fucking consoles, if your account gets hacked or if you have a violation or something or falsely reported, all sorts of crazy shit happens nowadays.
Yeah.
With people being vindictive cunts and all that. You kill someone online, they fucking dox you or DDoS you, all that sort of shit. I don't want to lose all my stuff. This is a lot of money that we're investing in these things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, holy shit, my if I calculated the value of all my total library of games and collection, I guarantee you to be tens of thousands of dollars easily. Like,
probably. I mean,
no
if
question.
we're talking release date value, probably yeah.
Yeah,
Or
release
even
date value,
maybe
yeah, definitely.
Even pre-owned value at this point, maybe. But like I was gonna say before about like this going into digital stuff, people freaked out when ebooks became a thing.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
but
like,
that's
"Oh my
got its own
God,
problems too.
books are going extinct, and we're never gonna read paper books anymore." And a bunch of elitists got on their high horses and talked about how much better physical copies were. And I mean, not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of a physical elitist, but I'm not gonna go around to people.
I am with game books, like RPG books and all that, like D&D. But keep going.
But like, of course, books are still around and they're thriving.
Yeah.
They're still doing really good.
Yeah.
Bookshops are still doing real good. There's a bunch of shit there.
Well, I mean, actually, they're not doing great, but that's mostly because people have declined. Nowhere near as many people are reading as they used to.
Well, that's in terms of that's like a different.
I know that's a different issue. That's a different problem. But I'm just addressing that. I'm just addressing that. We're not saying they're living it up.
But like, absolutely not. But like, as far as
have definitely affected
with ebooks and the physical market, it hasn't affected the physical market as much as people were worried it was going to, which was my point. Which is my sort of thing. Is I don't think that physical discs are going away. I don't even think they're going to be that much more rare. But my concerns are going forward is that next console generation or the one after that or whenever, 10 years, 20 years, is that eventually it might get to a stage where the push has been just so hard for digital that physical copies become super rare and or even overpriced, or even some factor that will make it harder to justify getting physical copy people.
Yeah, no, I think though I do definitely think that it is actually kind of becoming obsolete, and not obsolete as in I believe it's a bad thing and all that, and that it should be gone. I'm saying that they're trying to make it obsolete, particularly because physical discs nowadays, if we go and look at any of the new games that were released for the PS4, Xbox One, all that sort of shit, how much of the actual information and data and all that shit is stored on the disc? Fuck all. There is barely anything in most cases, and all of it is digitally downloaded, which I hate. I hate it so fucking much. It is really frustrating, because it used to be that like on the 360 or the PS3, you'd put the disc in, brand new, fucking ta-da, boots up, or you might have to wait 5 to 10 minutes for some shit to install. Takes no time at all. I have to wait sometimes days. I'm talking multiple fucking days, thanks to shitty internet, just to get not even the biggest games installed. I'm talking stuff that's only like 30 fucking 50 gigabytes between there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have things like Red Dead Redemption 2 that are like 100 or something gigs now,
Like it takes
or Warzone,
to upload, bro. Like to fucking finish uploading it to your fucking console. Like,
which I'm annoyed with Warzone as well, with Modern Warfare, with how they've done it, in that
they didn't separate it. They didn't separate it into two things,
Like, I mean, it's weird when you install the game. There's a bunch of different like campaign packs and co-op packs and multiplayer packs that they install. So they clearly separated the downloads, but the whole game itself is just within like the Warzone package, which shits me. And another thing I will say as well is, this is a small thing, again going back into my kind of physical collection. But like the physical not the physical but the icon on the Xbox for Modern Warfare now is the the Warzone logo instead of the Modern Warfare cover.
Yeah.
Which I have the disc of Modern Warfare, so it doesn't affect me too much. But it sucks going through your game library, and it doesn't come up with the proper thing. Or when they change those. Another thing I don't like about digital as well is that they can just change shit. Like look, people probably don't care as much as me, but
UI and everything,
the cover matters. Especially if you go back and you look at games that you played as a kid, like the original Halo games or the original Assassin's Creed games, and you look at the front cover, even the back cover, but specifically the front cover. That's a nostalgia trip right there.
We're gonna have to go into this. Is gonna have to be a different topic though, because truth be told, like I'm going to have to go off on physical games and how 100%. What's happened with them nowadays. Particularly, like the main thing, and this is something that really, I reckon a lot of people are gonna either call me a boomer for or some other shit like that. But I am so infuriated at the fact that there is no fucking instruction manual and all the other shit nowadays. Because
so many from the car ride home from the shopping center reading the instruction manual. So much nostalgia there.
There's a fucking link
it does. I mean, the most you get these days is like a controller map. And that's about it.
And it's fucking, but it's shit because it's like there was so much more important and good stuff that came out of the instruction manuals.
I mean, I was playing the Ezio trilogy the other day.
Yeah.
Some Brotherhood, and it's not really a spoiler, but endgame you get a parachute from Leonardo da Vinci.
How fucking dare you? I have not played. No, I'm joking, Karen.
Guys, spoilers.
but you get a parachute, and there's like, I looked through the in-game control screen. I couldn't find a fucking display showing where all the controls were. And the parachute, I remember as a kid, the parachute was never something I ever used because like the button to press it was like really fucking weird. And I never figured it out. But like I was like, okay, well I don't know what button it is, and there's no pamphlet to flick through to find what button I have to fucking press. Especially because it's an end game item, it might not show up anyway in some things. But regardless. So I had to go online and track down some control schemes and have a look at what the button was and it's like back in the 360 days, back in the good old times, you'd open the case up, which would probably be nearby, playing the game, and you've like first couple of pages controls, next couple of pages other shit that's useful, hard shit, all this cool information that you can just go, shit, I haven't played this game in a while, I don't remember how to play it properly, let's look at this, let's look at that.
Tips and tricks as well.
Yeah,
a bunch of them did have like cool little Prima strategy guides. I had a game that came with like a little mini Prima guide about how to get through like the first level like perfect and shit. It might have been a Hitman game or something. But like it's a little commodity. It's most people probably don't care, judging by how most pre-owned games don't have them anymore because they were probably thrown in the trash. But I don't know. It's like it goes along the lines with like my thing with physical games. Like it's just kind of part of the experience, which sounds really uppity and kind of weird.
No, but it is also a vital thing in my personal opinion. Like the whole thing of it's like, go to stupid link or this is the website link. That's not fun. That's really inconvenient in my opinion. It's fucking annoying. It's like what? So I've now got to have to fucking get out a completely separate device. So I've either got to go to my laptop or some other shit, or people will say, "Oh, but now you can browse the internet on your console." It's like, what, you mean the world's most shittiest browser that takes 3 million hours to load anything because it doesn't function?
Like, even like the Xbox Help app, I guess you could call it.
I hate it so much.
It's so shit. Yeah, it's bad. It's not user friendly at all. It doesn't have
an hour to boot up anything. It takes so fucking long just to boot basic information up. To flip back and forward through shit, the A and B buttons, in other words, accept or back, sometimes just don't fucking work. Sometimes do not work at all.
Yeah,
it's so stupid. And then not only that, it's not even...
I doubt we're getting them back, but...
No, but I mean, it really should be. Like, the whole... Even, like, box cover art. Like, I know there was, a video game Donkey just did a whole massive thing on that, too. To do with, like, physical game covers and that shit.
Watch any of Scott the Wozz's videos.
Yeah.
I recommend that, because he's kind of like me, where he collects a fuck ton of games.
He's a game collector himself, mostly for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's different. He's got mostly like this old as fuck Nintendo games that I wouldn't even be able to play if I had them.
Yeah.
But like he sort of talks about that sort of stuff. So he recently actually did a video on pre-owned games. So seriously, check that out because we're gonna have to finish up now.
Yeah.
But if you want more information on that shit like that, if you want to hear people talk about it that can actually talk about it properly for a long time, go check that video out. it goes over everything you really need to know about shit we're talking about. Yeah,
But yeah,
I think that's pretty much.
Yeah,
what we have to
sorry
say.
for the
We should-
short
we should
episode,
start
everyone.
finishing up. I think that
Yeah.
we're trying to kind of regulate our episode sizes. If anyone does watch this and they prefer
Yeah.
the shorter length, if they prefer the longer length,
we're just
let us know
experimenting with
if
the
you
Do
feel
let us
like it.
know. I mean, all 0.5 of you, my cat, or well, I don't have a cat. My dogs, if you're watching,
The people
Like,
from
you know, let me
Ukraine
know.
would be paid to watch these videos.
yeah.
Hey guys,
The
let
guy
us
from
know.
Instagram who I hired their 1 million bots to come with all the very, very strange names.
I donated this link to. Hi. Anyways,
Yeah.
banter aside.
PokeyMane, who are all tier 3 subs too, if you're watching this.
Okay.
We've hacked your accounts and relinked you to sub to us.
Hi,
You're now
VTuber,
simping for us.
Hi, Project Melody. Hi, whoever I linked this shit to. Anyways, banter aside, you know, this is another episode of the Looking Glass podcast. I'm one third host Calvin. I'm here with Lenny.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, and I'm here with Jai as well.
We might be back for next week, but don't
Yeah,
count
we
on it.
might. We don't have a regular upload schedule. We probably never will because we're all a bunch of fucking jokes.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, we're actually doing episodes now, so at least there's that, eh?
Bismillah.
Yeah, there is that. So none of y'all better complain.
Yeah. Right.
No complaining at all,
Yeah.
or I'll get those guys from Ukraine.
Well, I mean, as mentioned, just the fucking cricket sounds because no one's here.
Yeah, I mean, well.
Well, I mean, you never know. You never know. Fucking might get thrown onto Reddit and might fucking spontaneously get found. Just kidding. But we'll all see you fucking sometime soon. Hopefully next week. Or, you never know, tomorrow. We have nothing going on. Please help. Quarantine is shit.
All right, guys. Well, see y'all later. See you in the next episode, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.